In this example, we're going to take a look at the Butler Inventory simulation in Chapter 16 of our book. In this example, Butler is a company that sells wireless routers. So take a second and set up your workbook like I have here. The main thing you need to focus on spacing is these simulation rows down here. Okay. Then once that's done, we're going to go ahead and enter some information that we are given in the book. We're told that our gross profit per router is $50. Butler buys a router for $75 and sells it for $125, so the gross profit is $50. They also incur a holding cost of $15 per router, meaning that if they don't sell a router, it costs them $15 to hold it in stock. And we're told that they have a shortage cost per unit of $30 per router, meaning if they run out, they lose out on $30. They have a replenishment level of 100. This means that at the end of the day, they always restock to ensure that they have 100 routers in stock. They keep their inventory level at 100. So for instance, if they have 10 in stock, they're going to order 90, so they get back up to that level of 100. Now our demand, we're told, follows a normal distribution, and it has a mean of 100 and a standard deviation of 20 units. Then we can go ahead and run our simulation. We're told that we want to run it for 300 months. We want to run this model for 300 months. So again, we start with month 1, put 1 in the first one here. Then we go to home, then go on over to fill, down to series. We want to fill our column with a step value of 1, so we're counting every one, counting by ones, to a stop value of 300. Now if I do Shift Control down, the page down key, I can see I go all the way down to 300. Now that ends in row 316. That's kind of a handy piece of information to remember here. So if I do Shift Control up, I'll pop back up to the top of that table again. Okay, so now we can start with our demand, and this time we're going to combine two Excel functions. We're going to use the integer function as well as the norm.inverse function. Using that integer function helps us to remove the effect of decimals since we can't sell a partial router. It comes in handy in instances like this. So our demand, remember we want this to be random, so it's going to be equals, we're going to use that integer function, so int. Now we want to use the norm.inverse, and we want it to be a random variable, comma, then we need our mean. We want that to be absolute, and our standard deviation, which we also want to be absolute, and parentheses. And make sure that you get the end parentheses for the norm.inverse as well as the integer function. Okay. So again, we have a random variable in here, so every time I click, this demand value is going to change. Your workbook's going to look different than my workbook. Now we can move on to sales. Now with sales, we're going to need to take into account the stock out, the possibility of a stock out. So we're going to use a minimum function here. What we want to know is we want to know the smaller value between the demand and the replenishment level. And remember, the replenishment level is the number that we have in stock. Okay, so sales is going to be equal the minimum of what my demand was, so my cell on the left, or my replenishment level, the 100. And that, again, can be an absolute cell reference. That's It's not going to move as we carry this down in parentheses. Okay, so see again, when I let go there, my demand changed because my random variable, and the demand was 116, but we only have 100 as our replenishment level, so the minimum there was 100. Now we move over to gross profit. This is going to be what we sold, our gross profit per unit. So it's going to equal the number of sales multiplied by our gross profit per unit. So go up here, that was the $50. Again, that's not going to change. That's an absolute cell reference. Okay. Then we need to determine if we have holding costs. Are we holding any? Is the demand less than the sales? So we want to enter an if statement here. So if our demand is less than the replenishment level, absolute, then we would take our replenishment level, again subtract our demand, so this is how many we're holding, and we want to multiply that by the holding cost per unit, our $15. That again can be an absolute cell reference. If we're not holding any, then the value it takes on is 0. We have 0 holding costs. So here we can see our demand was 126. We sold 100 because that's all we have on hand. So we didn't carry any forward. We aren't holding any. But as you can imagine, we were short by 26, right? So we're going to incur a shortage cost. So again, we'll have an if statement. So equals if. Now the demand is greater than our sales. So if demand's greater than sales, or excuse me, greater than replenishment level, and that's absolute, then we run out. So we want to take the demand minus the replenishment level. That is absolute. Now multiplied by the shortage cost per unit. This is our $30. If not, it takes on the value of 0. So as we can see here now, demand's 120, can only sell 100 of them, so we're short by 20 units. 20 times $30 a unit gives us a shortage cost of $600. Now we move along and we want to calculate our net profit. Net profit is simply the gross profit less our holding costs less our shortage cost. So net profit equals our gross profit per unit that is absolute. Just kidding here. Our gross profit is what we have right here with our demand less our holding cost less our shortage cost equals. So in this scenario, our net profit was $4,490. So we can go ahead, copy all this down. To for our 300 months. And we have all of our information. Control up gets me back up to the top. Now we want to go and figure out our summary statistics. We'll make this look just a little bit nicer. And our mean profit is going to equal our average of all of our profit. So remember I said we ended with row 316. So that comes in handy right here. So our profits start at cell G17 and they go down to G316. Okay. And our standard deviation, remember like last example, we wanted the standard deviation of the sample. So equals standard deviation dot S, again of G17 all the way down to G316. Minimum profit, it's just a minimum function, equals min, same cell range, G17 to G316. Maximum profit is a max function. So we can see our minimum profit's $840. Our max profit is $5,000 with this particular simulation. Now we need to calculate our total demand and our total sell in order to find our service level. Our service level is how well are we meeting our service demand. We want to get a high service level. Okay? So total demand equals the sum of our demand. So look at the demand column now. We're going to move over to column B. So now we're from B17 to B316. And our sales is in column C, so we need that sum equals sum of C17 to C316. Then our service level is our sales divided by our demand. Our service level in this simulation is about 92.5%. Okay. So this was running the simulation again for 300 months. Now if we're working on an exam or on homework, I will likely give you particular demand for a set amount of months, so say 10 months. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut off the rest of the table. Oops. And I lost it. I hold down Shift and Control and page up. Got close. Do it the long way. There we go. Get rid of all that. Oh, now I lost month 10. Okay, so I would give you the demand for 10 months. So you would still be responsible for setting up all these equations, but now I want you to copy and paste the given demand. 94, 125. Oh, I just wanted to paste the values. Hold on. Not the. There we go. Paste. Okay, paste values. I was pasting my equations as well. Paste values. So now what would happen is you paste these values in that I give you, but all of these equations still need to be set up. So based on that, I may ask you questions like what was the minimum profit? Calculate the maximum profit. Or perhaps what was your gross profit in month 3? Your shortage cost in month 6, so on and so forth. Now, all of these equations for sales, gross profit, holding cost, shortage cost would have to be correct in order for you to give me the correct output, correct answer. Okay, so again, this was just looking at the example, the Butler Inventory example from chapter 16 of our book.